You're listening to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Harriet.
I'm Beth.
And I'm Natalie.
You want to work towards achieving true food and body image freedom, you are in the right place.
Rewrite the Rules podcast is your survival guide to letting go of harmful societal expectations and unlearning any unhelpful beliefs that are stopping you from having a healthy and loving relationship with food and yourself.
Our mission is to help you feel heard, understood, and empower you to step out of the box and rewrite your rules so you can live life on your terms. Thank you for tuning in. Hi everyone, welcome back.
Hello guys, welcome back to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. This is episode 13. Unlucky for some, but actually a really helpful and important episode for you guys. So you may have already noticed if you're watching this episode on YouTube, but we are one down this week. It's just me and Harriet bringing you this Monday's episode as the gorgeous Natalie is off for the week.
Yes, Natalie, we're missing you already, but of course this podcast is all about sustainability and rest. So we wanted to give Nat the week off, but we will miss her dearly. But yes, she'll be editing this podcast, so she'll be getting to see all the gems that we're throwing into this episode. But this episode is actually a listener's request. So if you don't already know, if you are listening to this and you ever want us to talk about anything, you can always message us and we will of course deliver. But essentially this episode is going to be about how we dealt with clothes shopping in recovery. And we all agreed that this was just the perfect episode to follow on from last week. And our episode last week was, will your body change in recovery? So yes, a very relevant episode this week as well, I believe. But obviously last week we chatted about the possible physical changes that may or may not happen in recovery in regards to your body changing. And obviously this relates to clothes and clothing size as well. So we really just want to be able to help you guys navigate that.
Absolutely. And shopping for clothes can be stressful at the best of times for most people. So let alone anyone struggling with their relationship with food and their body changing. And that often goes like hand in hand with poor body image and being very numbers focused. So with this episode, we really just want you to feel more confident in opting for clothes that fit you and not trying to fit the clothes, and also just like being able to detach from the number a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to dive into this. But Beth, a little birdie told me that you have some background information on clothing sizes. I think we would all love to hear about that.
Absolutely. So I think it's really important to actually like briefly explain why we have clothing sizes in the first place and why they can be so ill-fitting and maybe feels like they're all over the place, because we often think that education is the key in actually dismantling the power that we give to certain numbers. So obviously it basically comes down to greater demand and lower manufacturing costs and faster fashion. So a few generations ago, people would literally make their own clothes or have someone else tailor it for them. So even my mom, for example, would make all of her own clothes herself. And I remember like she'd tell me so many times that she'd use whatever money she had left at the end of her weekly wage to buy some material at the start of her week, spent all week tailoring a dress for her to wear out on the weekend. So clothes were literally perfectly fitted to the individual's body, which is a stark comparison to now, because items are literally off the rack, ready to wear, which is why most clothing, even if you think it fits you okay, it only fits okay and not perfectly. So obviously sizing is somewhat useful just so people aren't like walking around looking like they're wearing like complete sacks. Like we want clothes, you know, to be able to complement our body, fit our body. But with it being so general and so limited, shopping for clothes often feels like so disheartening and so exhausting, especially when you are struggling with like body image and food and numbers. But we are most like definitely a society that is driven by numbers, and one that constantly puts pressure on women to like reduce. So whether that is calories, whether that's your weight, or whether it's dress size, I think it's so easy to fall victim to the pressure and just allow numbers to define us as a person. So we are completely surrounded by these things, so don't feel bad if you actually feel like deeply affected by them.
That's so interesting, like the backstory on why do we even have clothing sizes. And I guess it does make sense, because not everyone can go out and, you know, tailor their clothes. But yeah, I think the whole number situation. And I think in the eating disorder world, numbers do have this like perceived power and this like perceived moral value. And it's like, you know, with clove sizes, like weight, calories, it's very number focused. And the problem is that I think numbers, you know, mathematically are black and white. It's like, it's fact, like 2 + 2 = 4. But when we use numbers to measure our sense of worth, it's actually not black and white. And I think that's the problem. People, you know, and I 100% fell victim to this as well, where I believed, well, if I was a certain clove size, then that was good. If I moved up, that was bad. And I think it's kind of just really understanding that being a certain size in clothes doesn't make you any more or less of a person. And it's time just to take the power back from these numbers, because like I've said in like so many other episodes, they're just not an accurate measurement of your worth and who you are. And it can be really easy to get completely bogged down and controlled by these numbers. And especially with clothing size, it's, you know, we're going to talk more about our specific experiences, but gosh, like the things that I've done to try and fit into a certain size instead of just getting the size up, it's
absolutely
shocking.
It is crazy. It is crazy. And I think it's also sort of like, I don't know about you, Harriet, but sort of being brought up in an environment that sort of suggested that, you know, less is better. And if you were sizing up, or if you had gained weight, then that meant letting yourself go, or that meant like negativity or failure. And then that was encouraged by when you were able to size down, you would get praised, you would get congratulated, you were made to feel proud and feel like really positive, which I think is so difficult to like unlearn that mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, I can squeeze into my size X jeans again. And it's like, you know, you've won if you've lost weight. And of course, that is absolutely driven by the weight loss industry and the diet industry. And I think it was the Special K diet that actually used clove sizing as part of their advertising, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They were on about how you can like drop a whole dress size, which it just doesn't make sense when you actually like see the reality of the inconsistency of dress sizes across, not just across brands, but within brands as well. It's just ridiculous how there isn't any sort of like set regulations when it comes to these things as well.
Yeah, so true. I also wanted to comment on you saying that it feels like if you go up a dress size, then you're letting yourself go. And everyone knows how I feel about the concept of like letting yourself go. But again, it's like, I think this is an opportunity to reframe. In my experience, trying like literally wearing clothes that were too tight for me, that didn't fit me, and buying clothes that didn't fit me, and just worrying about being a certain size, that's where I felt less of myself. That's where I felt like I was letting myself go. When I decided to like size up and actually wear clothes that fitted me, that's when I actually felt like myself.
Yeah, definitely. Did you ever have the experience where you purchase a certain item of clothing knowing that it wasn't going to fit you, but in order to hopefully try and motivate you to get into it?
Oh my gosh, like all the time. I remember this time I went to Urban Outfitters and I found a pair of jeans that I liked, and I was like obsessed with like wanting to be a certain size. And they did like waist sizes. They did the jeans in, you know, waist and length, and I was obsessed with being a certain waist size. I remember picked up this pair of jeans with this particular size, went to the changing rooms. They did not fit me like at all. I could not get them on. And I just like, I think I just had a moment where I cried in the changing room. I cried a little bit. I was just really sad. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to buy these because then they'll fit me. I'll make them fit me. And Urban Outfitters is really expensive. And I think they were like £70, £80 pair of jeans. And I And I was in uni, I think, at the time. And so I was like, I had no business buying an £80 pair of jeans, but I bought them, and I never wore them because I never could get into them. But that was my mentality of, well, yeah, if I buy them, then I'm going to have to get into them because I couldn't possibly waste that money.
Yeah. Oh my God. But I definitely remember. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. But I think for me, you know, when I'm a tall girl, and obviously when things like skinny jeans got really popular, tall girl with like bigger thighs, I could not fit into any skinny jeans because if they fit sort of my body, they weren't long enough. So I felt like really ostracized by that whole thing. So when Primark started introduce, because I really love shopping at Primark, when Primark introduced like doing it by waist and length, that actually helped me start detaching from the numbers, because instead of seeing like 6, 8, 10, 12, I was just like, oh, okay, these are different numbers. I don't quite understand what they mean. I'm not going to do the research into them anyway. I'm just going to grab loads of pairs and try ones that fit me. So in that way, it was a little bit empowering for me and sort of like allowing me to detach from the numbers, because I was just so excited to be wearing skinny jeans with everyone else.
Yeah. And I guess like if you didn't, you know, let yourself understand like what those numbers meant, then it's fine. You're none the wiser. I see. Absolutely. I did understand. I knew. Because it's funny because I'm actually also quite like short. I'm 5'3", so I always had to go for the petite. So the length, I used to go for places that had measurements by waist and length because I needed the length to be a certain length. I can't even remember what now, but yeah. And then that's how I decided to learn about waist sizes, which wouldn't recommend.
No, absolutely not. But mentioning Primark, actually, this is sort of a good personal experience of how clothing sizes across brands are absolute crap, but also within brands. So I went to Primark, and these jeans that I mentioned, I knew like exactly what size I was, and because they were just like really cheap, I just walk in, grab the exact size that I knew I was wearing right then and there. I was like, I'll grab 2 of them, be on my way, because they were like black skinny jeans, and within a couple of washes they were like grey. So I picked them up, put them in my basket, did not bother trying them on, and took them straight home. They were exact same size from the exact same pile from the exact same shop. Got them home, put the one pair on, and literally could not get it over my arse. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? And I was like, this feels a little bit strange. I'm wearing the exact same size. Why can I not get this one on? I tried the other pair of jeans on, and they fit like a dream. So this is a really good example of how sizes can differ between batches as well. So I'm only assuming that this was from like a different batch. It was like a different roll of fabric that maybe had like different stretch or different something. And this is why it's so important to not be disheartened, because I think maybe if I'd have gone in, picked one pair of jeans up and tried them on and they hadn't fit, I'd have felt really disheartened in that mindset right there. But because I had 2, because I was able to make that stark comparison and be like, oh my God, this is bullshit, that sort of helped me sort of start detaching from the numbers and actually be like, none of this makes any sense.
Definitely. I had like the similar experience actually only last year, where I was like I was pretty detached from the numbers anyway, but I bought a pair of jeans from Topshop, got them delivered, and they were my normal size and couldn't even get them over my knee. I was like, okay, like I'll send them back and I get the next size up. Got the next size up, could get those over my knee, but then not over my thighs. And I was like, okay, send them back and get the next size up. So I think that to this point, I'm 2 sizes up. But because of like the ridiculousness of the fact that my normal size is not even getting past my knee, was just evidence for me that the sizing was effed up. And that's not my problem. And, you know, I got the size until I felt comfortable in them. And it was just another realization that actually the number on the label at the back doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean anything. And I have written down a little quote I'd like to share with you all. I can't remember who said it, so I apologize that it's not, I can't find that, but it says, a size is just a way to help us understand how a piece of clothing will fit our body based off of inconsistent measurement references. It's a number. It does not define our worth and shouldn't determine our happiness. So if there's anything you take away from this podcast, please take that quote, write it at the top of your diary when you're journaling. Keep it as like, if you really struggle with numbers, put it on the background of your phone. Just keeping it there and remembering that number on whatever item of clothing it is does not mean anything.
Yeah, 100%. I love that quote. Sorry for interrupting the episode, but we just want to give a very quick shout out to our sponsors, us.
If you're loving this episode and the podcast so far and want to support this podcast further, then head to the link in the show notes and show your appreciation by donating us a coffee. We'd massively appreciate it.
There are also other ways to support us for free, like dropping us a rating and review on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please like and subscribe.
And you can, of course, follow us on Instagram. It's at Rewrite the Rules Pod, and share our podcast with anyone that you think will love it.
We do all offer our own coaching and therapy packages if you would like to work with any of us. All links to those and more info are all once again in the show notes.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
I think we can probably give a couple of tips on how you can tackle clothing sizes and shopping. And I think the education part is the first step, understanding that the size ranges are just so silly and so inaccurate across all brands, and even Beth, what you said, even in brand stuff. So just understanding that first of all, and I don't love the word, but it's the perfect word for this situation. It is corrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. And just realize how many billion people there are on the planet and how many different body sizes there are. And I'm not trying to defend the clothing industry at all. They need to do more in terms of size inclusivity and offering smaller sizes, bigger sizes. We want everything. We want everyone to be able to walk into a shop and be able to pick something off the rack that will fit their body. But when it comes to women, we've got boobs, we've got hips, we've got bums, we've got all these curves, and often, especially me, I am personally haven't got much of a chest, but I have still struggled to get into tops purely because of that area. So often, they make these standardized sizes, but it doesn't sort of cater to the female body. So I'd recommend shopping. I've definitely chose to shop at more sites that offer curvier clothes and things like that, just because I will know that it fits my personal body better. But there's so many different body shapes and body types out there. So if that item of clothing doesn't fit your body shape, it's got nothing to do with your body shape being wrong or incorrect.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's also really helpful to really commit to focusing on how you feel, because I have worked with many clients on this exact topic, and I will tell you that the scariest thing is that making a decision to size up, or the thought of having to size up to go from one size to the next size. That's often the scariest thought. However, in both my experience and experience my clients have, as soon as they kind of commit to, okay, I'm going to focus on how I feel, that means getting a size up, I'm going to get a size up, they put on that new size, they forget about the little label in the back, because you don't think about it, you don't see it. So you just you now just realize, oh wow, they actually can walk around and feel comfortable. And it makes you forget. It really is powerful in helping you forget about all that anxiety and worry about being a certain size. And I think if it helps, when you give yourself a pep talk and before you go to buy that next size up, if you need to buy that next size up, really encourage yourself, do it. But then when you get home, cut out that label, because it really is irrelevant. The relevant thing is how you feel in your clothes. Clothes are meant to make you feel good. They're not meant to make you feel bad. And, I spent so many years wearing stuff that was too small for me. When I was younger, I was really insecure about my shoe size. I must have been I don't know exactly how old I was, under 10, I was the age where I went to the shoe shop and, you know, they had that shoe measurer thing. And the lady who was measuring my feet went, "Whoa, you've got big feet for your size." And I was like a UK 5 and like feet size. Like, it's not
Trauma.
like, yeah, it's like, it wasn't even like that, like, you know, and I've stayed like a 5.5, 6, you know, ever since. And I remember I used to buy UK 4 shoe size when that was too small for me, because I was like so like embarrassed about this like bigger shoe size.
Oh my God, you poor thing.
Yeah,
but these comments stay with you.
Yeah, and it's like, actually, like, when you buy, like with the shoe size, when I buy the pair of shoes that actually fit, I'm not thinking about, oh, I'm wearing a UK size 6. I'm thinking I can walk and I feel comfortable and I don't have blisters on my feet at the end of the day. And it's kind of like the same with clothes. It's like, if I buy something that actually fits me, you don't think about the size. You just think about, you don't really think about it because you're feeling comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioning shoes. Have you ever had the experience where you've bought a pair of shoes that literally fit you perfectly, but then once you start walking and like your body obviously like swells over the day, then become painfully unbearable? We have to think of the same thing with clothes as well. I know, look, if I put this skirt on and yeah, it fits me right now, but I'm about to go for a 3-course meal, I know how, you know, my body will expand and how uncomfortable I'm going to be with it. So not just like thinking about like your current body in the changing room, think about like you moving and like you enjoying life and you like living like happily through your day. How good will that item of clothing feel on you? But also, one of the most empowering things that I did was actually clean out my whole wardrobe of all the clothes that didn't fit me. And it took so long. It was only about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that I actually did it. And I was like, right, we're getting rid. Because I think you hold on to it. You're like, oh, what if my body changes again? I had to be like, no, we don't need this clutter anymore. If it doesn't fit this body, you know, it felt like a bit like a breakup actually. And there was like 4 black bags full, but it feels so frigging good. It feels so cleansing to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think if you currently have clothes in your wardrobe, in your cupboard, that are too small for you, and the narrative around those clothes is, well, one day I'll fit into them, it's holding you back, it's keeping you stuck. And you just have to ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this giving me good energy? When I open up my wardrobe and I see those pair of jeans, does it make me feel better about myself, or does it make me feel worse about myself? You know, that pair of Urban Outfitter jeans I had for years and years and years. And even when I moved, I've moved a lot in my life. I used to always take those pair of jeans with me. And every time I remember, like, I visually can remember like opening drawers, seeing those jeans and just thinking, I wish I could wear them, but like, they don't fit me. And it doesn't just stop there. When you're struggling with your relationship with food and your body, it doesn't just stop with, oh, well, there's something wrong with me, or why am I like this? I'm a failure, blah, 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 blah. So really just questioning, like, are the clothes that are currently in your wardrobes, in your cupboards, are they making you feel better about yourself, or are they making you feel worse about yourself? What is the narrative that you have around those clothes? And if it's making you feel worse, then yeah, do a clear out, you know, sell them, make some money, huns, you know, Depop.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I absolutely didn't bother with any of that. I was just sort of like, it was a very rash decision for me. And I was just like, right, you are gone now. So I donated everything to charity.
Yeah, all that.
It's just, you've got to realize that you deserve more than opening up your wardrobe every day and punishing yourself, because that is sometimes what it is. You know, I think when you're suffering with poor body image, when you're struggling with your relationship with food, I think we often enjoy like shaming ourselves and sort of constantly reminding ourselves, you know, this is why you're a failure today. This is why you're not a good person today. So keeping clothes and like opening up the drawer and just like reminding yourself, I am too whatever to fit into this, is like being mean to yourself. And you wouldn't do that to anyone else that you loved. So just see it as like an emotional and like physical cleansing,
Yeah.
get rid, have a revamp, buy a couple of items that like you feel so good in, and we promise it literally makes a world of difference.
Oh, it feels so good. It honestly feels like a weight has been lifted, because I was actually working with a client on this exact thing like a few weeks ago, and she literally was like, oh my God, why didn't I do this years ago? It feels that good. Like it, oh my gosh, like not having the pressure to fit, like to squeeze into something. And just like be comfortable. Like I'm at the age where I'm all about comfort, all about like just feeling good and being able to stretch. And so I will never go back, I think, to kind of fit into tight clothes. It's just not for me anymore, not a vibe.
Absolutely. And like another helpful tip, especially this is obviously harder when like you shop online, but when you are going into like a physical shop, don't just go and pick up like your usual size. Pick up like a couple so that you're not like standing in the changing room being like, oh, this doesn't fit me, like these negative feelings start coming in. Like if you've got another 2-3 sizes next to you, it's easier to just be like, okay, next one, instead of having to like, you know, put it back on the hanger, walk back out the changing room. Like so you might think, oh, I'm not going to bother now. So just like taking like a couple of sizes can like ease you into the possibility of having like the gumption to size up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that, this is like a bit emotional, but I think like think of like your younger self. Imagine your younger self being in that changing room and trying on a pair of jeans that were just too small. What would you say to her? You wouldn't say, well, buy them anyway and then go on a diet and lose that weight. You would say, get the next size up. Your mental health and your comfort is the most important thing here. And you would also say it's okay to get the next size up.
Yeah, absolutely. You made me think of that TikTok then, when you like, it forces you to like reflect on your younger self and like envision that little cute face looking up at you and how you could never be mean to that face.
Oh, I love that trend. It's if anyone doesn't know, it's a trend where it starts off with saying, oh, when I say like mean things to myself or when I do this to myself, I'm actually also doing that same thing to my younger self, because you are your younger self. It's your same person.
So emotional.
And it's something that it's always like clicked with me, like thinking about your younger self. I remember I read it in a book like years ago, and it was something like, what does your younger self need right now? What would you tell your younger self, or be who your younger self needs? And it's always just like really resonated with me, because it kind of allows you to look at yourself in a more compassionate light, and a more like innocence. And I think it really helps you to do the right thing for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, this is why like, we do this podcast. This is why we work with the clients that we do, because we are literally trying to be the help, be the inspiration, be the change that we needed when we were younger. So it's just so important.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just still like remembering, like, there's no science behind sizing. I shared a little chart with you girls in the group chat, but I think we may put it on Instagram just for other people to see, of like the inconsistency, obviously like the lack of size inclusivity within a lot of brands, but also the lack of consistency. And you know, you could walk into one shop, be a size 10, walk into another, be a size 16. There's no science behind it. There's no consistency behind it. And I think, you know, obviously we need to detach from the numbers, but I think morally brands should have some sort of like regulations across, just so like you're not having to walk into a shop and literally like hunt for a pair of jeans that might fit your body, because that's just exhausting in itself. But just remember, like, there's no science behind it. It doesn't mean anything. It's literally just a couple of people in an office somewhere have decided this is going to be our size 10. This is going to be our size 14. This is going to be our size 20. And that's literally it.
Absolutely. And I'd say as well, like, if you're currently really worrying about this topic and really struggling with your body image, try not to go shopping on, I would even say, is going clothes shopping the right thing for you right now? But if you, for whatever reason, need to go shopping, I'd say bring a friend with you. Try not to do it alone, because what you're really doing, you're going to these shops and changing rooms with those negative thoughts and with that mean inner critic in your head. So try to go with a friend who you trust, who can support you in getting the clothes that feel right for you, and kind of trying to eliminate this pressure and negativity of, you know, having to fit a certain size. Like, I don't think I did do it alone in terms of I went clothes shopping by myself, and it always just ended in tears and buying stuff that didn't fit.
Yeah. I remember a time where I'd gone to a shop and nothing fit and I was devastated. And then I saw Greg's across the road and I was like, right, time for a binge now. Like it's not just you're going to feel shit after you've like had this experience by yourself in the clothes shop. You've let like your mind, it's going to run wild if you don't have that support there. You're going to go on to do other destructive behaviors. So just having someone there to be like, okay, here's another size, and then we can just carry on with our day is really helpful.
And then like afterwards, like, let's get a coffee and talk about it. Let's actually talk about it. And you're so right that this can be such a big binge trigger, and especially like if you're already in like a shopping mall where there's like a food court, it can be very, very triggering. So we can't recommend enough going with a friend so that you have that support there. A trusted friend, mind you.
Yes, like a nice one.
Not a Karen who's going to be like, oh, don't worry, you'll get there.
There will be people like that though, like, unfortunately. Which is so sad. But just like what we want you to take away from this episode is just like, you are worth so much more than a number. It's okay to feel stressed about it right now. It's okay to feel anxious about it right now and see it as like a really difficult task. That's okay. Like we've literally all been there, but there is so much more to you as a person than the number that's in your jeans.
Oh my gosh, 100%. There's so much more to you. And even like a nice little exercise you could do is write down like, you know, what you value in a person, what you value in yourself. You know, I've done this exercise with many clients, like a values exercise. No one ever puts like, well, I value myself because I'm a size X. You know, it's not, you're not gonna think about that when you're an old lady or an old man sitting on your armchair at 80 years old. You're not going to be thinking about the size in the back of your jeans. You're going to be thinking about all the other amazing things that your life has to offer. So focus on that.
Be kind and compassionate to yourself.
100%.
Seek support if you need it.
I love that. So I really hope this episode helped you guys and has answered the question to the lovely listener who asked this question. But of course, please reach out to us, DM us. We've been absolutely over the moon that we've had quite a few listeners reach out to us and message us on Instagram, and it just makes us our day. So please head over to our Instagram. It's at Rewrite the Rules Pod. It will be in the notes and stuff below. Show notes below. And give us a follow, give us a message. We would love to talk to you because ultimately we're making this podcast for you.
Absolutely. And you know, we all know exactly how you feel. Like, no experience is weird or strange. You're never the only one. So I really hope that this episode just made you feel a little bit more comfortable in the idea of just picking clothes that like fit your body instead of you trying to change your body to fit the clothes. So I really enjoyed this.
So true. It's so true what you said. So it's just like, nothing is too strange.
Absolutely, nothing is too strange. And I think that's what you find from like putting yourself on the internet though. And you think, oh, I've had a weird experience, going to put it on there. And then you find hundreds of thousands of people have done the exact same thing. And it's like, oh, I'm not special.
I mean, guys, I've admitted on this podcast that I used to buy shoes that were too small for me. So, which is actually
I'm not trying
ridiculous.
to laugh at your pain.
My physical pain. So silly. I even was like, oh, get in. I was like, okay, well, maybe a 4.5 will be okay. Still 4.
It's never okay.
So we've all been there. If you are experiencing something and you think it's a bit weird, then we've probably experienced it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Harriet's poor bandaged feet by the end of it.
But no, I love doing this episode so much, and we hope it helped.
We hope it helped. We will see you guys next week.
Yes, see you guys next week, and
See you
have
later.
a beautiful week. Bye.
Bye.